Wow, it's been a minute, hasn't it? I do have to say, I'm sorry. It's been so long since I've uploaded a video. I'll talk a little bit about that and what's been going on at the end of this video, so I won't make you listen to it if you're here for the story. But as a friendly reminder, I also have a podcast where all of the audio of my videos go, so I'll be sure to have a link down in the description for you. So today, we are going to be talking about the serial killer who was called the Butcher Baker. Now, the Butcher Baker, also known as Robert Christian Hansen, was born on February 15th in 1939 in the town Easterville, Iowa. It's either Easterville or Esterville. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Now, his dad's name was Christian, who was a Danish immigrant, and his mom's name was Edna Hansen. Robert and his father didn't get along very well. His father was very strict and would make him work long hours at their family-owned bakery. Now, when Robert was younger, he had a stutter, and he suffered from severe acne on top of that. So in school, he was often bullied, and he never really did get any close friends anyways while he was in school. And according to his classmates, he didn't do really well in school. Like, he would get in trouble, he wouldn't make the best grades, stuff like that. Now, after he graduated in 1957, he decided to enlist in the U.S. Army Reserve, where he would learn to be a marksman. He would serve 1 weekend a month and would work at the bakery the rest of the time. And that's where he would get his skill to become a baker. He would also volunteer as an assistant drill sergeant at the police academy in the town of Pocahontas. I never actually knew there was a town called Pocahontas, so I really like that. I thought that was kind of cool. Now, on December 7th in 1960, he would end up getting revenge on his old high school by burning down the school bus barn. So that's not good. Now, no one got hurt, but he did get caught. Either someone saw him or he ended up telling someone, and then they turned him in, and he would be sentenced to 3 years in prison, but would end up being paroled after only serving 20 months. Now, it's said around this time he was diagnosed with infantile personality. I had to look it up. So what Google says that this means is that he had a lack of developmental process, clinically presenting themselves as functioning as a child. So that's what it said he was diagnosed with when I read about it. Just so you know. Now, I watched a documentary as well as read into his background, and some sources I read say that he was married to a local girl when he burned down the school barn and then got divorced while he was in prison. And then it said he got remarried to a girl who already had 2 kids. But the documentary didn't mention him getting married that first time and then divorcing, and also made it seem like the 2 kids were his. So I could have just missed something. I'm not 100% sure, but if you know, let me know. But in 1963, he would marry a woman and he would have 2 kids with her, or the 2 kids acted like he was their father, and he loved those kids. They really loved him back. They said he was a great father. He loved to play with them. He would help them with their homework. He was a great father. But him being a father didn't stop the fact that he would still have problems with the law. In 1967, after serving a couple jail sentences for petty theft, they decided to start a new life in Anchorage, Alaska. Now, back then, Alaska was becoming a popular place to go. It was still a lot of woods and land that was new and up for grabs. So a lot of people loved living in Alaska, and so did Robert and his family. Now, the people that were in Alaska that knew Robert and his family, they really liked them. He opened up a local small bakery that was pretty successful, and people loved having a bakery in their town. They could go get coffee, donuts. We have a bakery in our town. Well, we call it the donut shop. And it is so packed. Every morning, it is packed. People love that place. It had to shut down for a few months because someone accidentally rammed their car into the building. Anyways, so it was shut down for a few months, and oh my goodness, it was such a depressing time when we couldn't go get our donuts. Anyways, it's back up and going, and everyone is so happy about it. Nonetheless, people love having a little bakery in town. It's where people can go and sit down, have a cup of coffee, make small talk, you know? If you're from a small town, you get it. Now, the family went to a local church. From outside looking in, he was a normal guy, hardworking family man. But he was also an avid hunter. And Robert had a small airplane so he could get to his hunting spots. And this was really common in Alaska. Many people owned airplanes up there. And when Robert hunted, he would use rifles as well as bow and arrow. For some reason, he could just not stop doing horrible things. He would end up getting convicted of raping a prostitute and attempting to rape a housewife. But he would only serve 6 months in prison. So I'm sure that showed him. I wonder what his wife thought, honestly. He got in trouble a lot while they were together. Did she just think he was being picked on by the police and that he never really did any of the stuff he was accused of? Was he just a really good liar? I really have no idea. But now during their time in Alaska, police would start to find these deceased women out in the middle of nowhere. Now, these women would be found in shallow graves, and they were in random locations where it was common for people to go and hunt. But no one thought it was a serial killer. There was this one lady on the police force who believed they had a serial killer on the loose, but no one believed her. So everyone was like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. This is not a serial killer. These are just random killings out near the hunting spots. Nothing more. Well, then on June 13th, in 1983, a young girl named Cindy Paulson was spotted with handcuffs on her wrists, and she was running down the road naked. A guy in a truck stopped to help her, and she asked to be taken to a local motel. Now, this girl was only 17 years old at the time. She was young. The guy who dropped her off would call the police and told them what happened and where he took the girl. Now, the police officer named Greg Baker would arrive at the motel, and he would end up speaking with Cindy, and she would tell him what happened to her. She would say that she was close to the street talking to a man when another man pulled up. He offered her $200 to do a special service for him, and she accepted. Now, once she got in his car, he pulled a gun on her and he drove her to his house. Now, at this time, he convinced his family to go on vacation in Europe without him. So he didn't have to worry about them at all. He had free reign to do whatever he wanted to whoever he wanted. Now, once he got her into his basement, which was his man cave, he assaulted and tortured her. A 17-year-old girl. Now, after a few days of him tormenting her, he wanted to take her to his hunting cabin. It's not a luxury cabin. It's literally just a small one-room shack that he goes to when he goes out hunting. So he would drive her to the airport where he kept his plane, and she knew that if she got on that plane, she would not be coming back. So while he was loading it with supplies, she found an opportunity and ran for it. And he ran after her but couldn't catch her. And it wasn't long after that when the guy in the truck saw her. It was this incident that would be Robert's slow decline. She was able to tell the police exactly where he lived and what plane was his. So the police would go and question him. But if you remember, he was kind of an upstanding citizen in the sense that he owned the local bakery, his wife was a local teacher, and they went to church and people really liked them. No one thought to actually look at his record until later. So they essentially pushed the case to the side because they just saw this girl as a person who couldn't be trusted because of her profession, which is really sad in my opinion. Now, at the same time that all of this other stuff was going on with Robert and the 17-year-old girl, there were other policemen that were trying to look into the bodies that were being discovered in the woods. And they finally figured out that it's got to be a serial killer. Duh. Now, the police had Robert on the list only because of the story that Cindy told them. So he was kind of on the list, but he wasn't really looked into. And then they decided to contact the FBI for a profile on the type of person that they would be looking for. Now, the profile that the FBI gave was someone with a low self-esteem who had a history of rejection by women and would be an experienced hunter. Well, the police that was originally assigned to Cindy's case finally pulled Robert's record. And that's when they decided to issue a warrant for Robert's home, plane, and cars. Took them long enough is all I have to say. They didn't find anything at first. Then they got in the attic. And there they found a collection of rifles that matched the bullets found inside the women, as well as a bag of jewelry. Then they found this aviation map that had a ton of these marks on them, marking locations. They realized that some of the locations that were marked on this map were the exact spots where they found the bodies of these women. But they realized there were a ton more marks on that map where they hadn't looked yet. They questioned Robert and he finally caved, but he would only tell them about 17 of the burial sites and refused to help them with the other 4 sites, which does not make sense to me. I hate it when criminals do this. They're already gonna go to prison forever. Why not tell them all the women? You know what I mean? Why not? Give some families peace, you know? Why hide that? You've already given them 17 names. Why not give them the last 4? Sorry. Doesn't make sense. So we really don't know how many women he killed. We just know how many were marked on the map and how many were found, which was 17. But what he would do, which is truly horrible and heartbreaking, he would take these women who were local prostitutes to his plane. He would take them to the woods and he would hunt them like animals. He was a horrible human being. He would finally be arrested October 27th, 1983, and was sentenced to 461 years in prison without parole. He would end up dying at the age of 75. So crazy, right? And here's something even crazier. I'm a hairdresser. She's the one that told me the story about the spree killer. She told me about this one too. She said that she only heard of this guy because I might be wrong, so I'm really sorry, Amy, if I get this wrong. But she said that her husband's teacher a long time ago, either it was his teacher or someone he knew who had her as a teacher, was Robert's wife. I mean, so how crazy is that? It's nuts, right? So weird, but cool, kind of. So there was this lawyer in the trial for Robert Hansen, and his last name was Rothschild. And he made this statement that just kind of put things into perspective for me. I think it was like his closing argument or something like that. And here's what he says. A man who walked among us for 17 years, serving us donuts, Danish, and coffee with a pleasant smile. His family was a prop. He hid behind decency. This hunter who kept trophies on the wall now has trophies scattered throughout South Central Alaska. And while he doesn't talk about or admit to it, it's obvious from looking at where things started and where women ended up, he hunted them down. He'd let them run a little bit and he enjoyed the hunt, just like with his big game animals. End quote. Just absolutely horrible. There was something off in his brain for sure, because he was not a good person whatsoever, and he was able to hide it really well. Now, if you get a chance, there is plenty more information on the documentary. It's on Discovery Plus, if you have that, and it's called The Butcher Baker, Mind of a Monster. And it's pretty interesting. It tells you even more info about him and the story. But that's all I got for you today. That's the story of The Butcher Baker. So, pretty interesting stuff. So if you're interested in what's been going on and why I haven't been uploading, it's kind of simple. I've already talked to you guys. If you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, I already posted a video about it, just kind of explaining why I hadn't been uploading. But essentially, I got overwhelmed. I was hesitant to do this video because I'm not ready to get fully into it again. Every week, either myself or one of my kids have been sick, and I'm still not doing the best either. My throat has been swollen and sore for like 2 weeks now. Not sure why, but I'm slowly getting better. I feel like each day. And then my children, it hasn't been easy. And then our washing machine has been down for over a month. So in the evenings, I've been having to go somewhere else to do our laundry while we wait on a part to come in so we can fix it. And we also discovered that we have a water leak in our crawl space. So we're trying to get someone out here to look at it. And things at my work have just kind of gotten a little crazy. And so it's just been stressful, and I really just put YouTube on the back burner so I could try to keep my sanity. Because doing YouTube is a lot of work. You have to do the research, the recording, the editing, and that is a full-time job in itself. So what I'm aiming for, but not promising, is I would like to get a video out every couple of weeks or so until things start to get back to normal. But I can't make any promises because I don't know what the future holds. I'm hoping these sicknesses will go away, but Yeah, that's essentially it. I am very active on Facebook. I do have a Facebook page, and it's just Spooky History with Shayna Blake is all it is. I post on there every day. I am on my Instagram. I don't post as often on my Instagram because most of my family and friends are all on Facebook. So I usually just post over there, but I will give updates over there. So if that's something you're interested in and knowing what the plan is, when I'm going to get a video out and all that kind of stuff, be sure to just search for me on Facebook there, Spooky History with Shayna Blake. But that is going to be it for me today, and I will see you all later. Bye.